On the 8th of November 2022, Azerbaijan marks the second anniversary of its victory over Armenia, thereby liberating its territory after nearly 3 decades of illegal occupation. The triumph in the Second Karabakh War is of great symbolic importance for Azerbaijanis, since it heralded the great return to their ancestral lands following years of forcible separation, displacement and sorrow. The anti-Azerbaijani separatist sentiments in Armenia during the late Soviet period spawned what was the most protracted conflict in the post-Soviet region in the mid-1980s, eventually transforming into a full-scale war from 1988 to 94. All-out military aggression by Armenia against Azerbaijan ensued amidst the chaotic dissolution of the Soviet Union in 1991, drawing the 2 newly independent republics into the battlefield. This bloody war claimed the lives of more than 30,000 people and resulted in 1 million Azerbaijanis becoming internally displaced persons and refugees. Since the end of the war, nearly 4,000 Azerbaijanis were reported as missing. Throughout the illegal occupation, Azerbaijan demanded the restoration of its international borders, referring to the principles of international law and the 4 resolutions adopted by the United Nations Security Council in 1993. The indifference and apathy of global powers and regional actors regarding resolving this unresolved conflict in Karabakh and its devastating consequences for the region's stability enabled Armenia to continue the illegal occupation. The unfulfillment of Azerbaijan's fair demands by Armenia, the lack of international pressure on Yerevan, and the subtle mediation diplomacy spearheaded by the OSCE Minsk Group, co-chaired by the US, Russia and France, all home to significant proportions of the Armenian diaspora, failed to attain a political solution, ultimately leading to the gradual looming of war clouds over the 2 nations. The new war for new lands doctrine of the Armenian authorities and eventual provocations on the interstate border in July 2020 dashed all hopes for a peaceful political end to the conflict. Then, a general and a major, together with 10 other servicemen of the Azerbaijani army, were killed during the short but bloody skirmishes by the Armenian military. On the 27th of September 2020, the conflict between Armenia and Azerbaijan ultimately spiraled after Armenia's forces deployed in the occupied Azerbaijani lands shelled military positions and civilian settlements in Azerbaijan. During the counterattack operations that lasted 44 days, Azerbaijani forces liberated over 300 settlements, including the regions of Jabrayil, Fizuli, Zengilan, Gubadli and Shah. The war ended in a tripartite ceasefire statement signed on the 10th of November 2020 by Armenia, Azerbaijan and Russia. Under the statement, Armenia also agreed to return the Aghdam, Kalbajar and Lachun districts to Azerbaijan by the 1st of December. The document mandated Russia to deploy a temporary peacekeeping mission in the parts of the Karabakh region settled by the Armenian population. Shortly after the war, the Azerbaijani authorities voiced their readiness and determination to launch negotiations with Armenia that would ultimately bring long-awaited peace and prosperity to the region. In February 2022, Baku submitted a proposal containing 5 basic principles to Armenia. This highlights the key issues related to the peace negotiations between the 2 countries, including a mutual recognition of respect for the sovereignty, territorial integrity, the inviolability of internationally recognized borders, mutual confirmation to negate territorial claims against each other, the obligation to refrain in interstate relations from undermining the security of each other, delimitation and demarcation of the state border, and the unblocking of transportation links and other communications. However, the efforts aimed at achieving a long and sustainable peace between the 2 countries remained dead in the water. Negotiations mediated by Russia and the European Union could not be translated into actions, largely due to the reluctance of Armenia to address its obligations under the tripartite statements signed in November 2020 and January 2021, including the unblocking of transport communications and withdrawal of armed groups from Karabakh. Furthermore, the Armenian authorities did not abandon their retrospective calls for a so-called status for Karabakh Armenians within the borders of Azerbaijan, whom the Azerbaijani government recognizes as its citizens and has repeatedly pledged to ensure their necessary fundamental rights and security. The peace negotiations were also torpedoed several times due to surprise statements of Armenian officials and demands to bring back the beleaguered OSCE Minsk Group, the unsuccessful format for the resolution of the Karabakh issue since 1994. Azerbaijan's President Ilham Aliyev has repeatedly said that the OSCE Minsk Group could not be revived given its negative reputation as a mediation structure. Meanwhile, one of the main obstacles to helping the region revive remains the landmines contaminating the formerly occupied lands of Azerbaijan. With no precise maps of minefields, the Azerbaijani government has been extensively conducting demining in this land through national agencies and international cooperation. Armenia shared a handful of these maps, which, according to Baku, is around 25% precise. In the post-war period, a total over 260 Azerbaijani citizens have lost their lives or were severely injured in mine blasts. Today, on the second anniversary of Victory Day, Azerbaijan is focusing on the concept of post-conflict reconstruction and reconciliation, publicly stating that the ethnic Armenian community of Karabakh will easily coexist peacefully alongside the Azerbaijani community, amidst the initial return of former Azerbaijani IDPs to their rightful lands. Baku is convinced that both communities will derive socio-economic benefits from the ongoing rebuilding and revival process. Currently, massive reconstruction and restoration campaigns can be seen in almost every corner of the liberated lands, including Kalbajar, Laçın, Ağdam, Füzuli, Zengilan and Shusha. Since the conclusion of the Second Karabakh War, the Azerbaijani government allocated nearly $3 billion from the state budget for the reconstruction of these territories. The infrastructure of these war-torn lands, including socio-economic hubs, highways, power grids, residential localities and more, is being rebuilt from scratch. The first group of the former IDPs have already returned to their ancestral lands in the Zengilan district, and more is and will be done since President Aliyev personally pledged to turn the war-torn lands into paradise. The future is peace, and this will pay dividends for Azerbaijan, Armenia and the entire South Caucasus. Stay tuned to Calibre.az to keep up to date.